What is the only way to reduce your blood alcohol concentration, BAC? A. Drink coffee. B. Exercise. C. Allow your body time to get rid of the alcohol. D. Take a cold shower. C. Allow your body time to get rid of the alcohol. The only method that effectively reduces your BAC is to not drink alcohol for a period of time. Coffee, exercise, and cold showers cannot reduce your BAC or change the effects of alcohol. They can help you remain awake, but they cannot change your BAC or make you sober. Before passing another vehicle, you should signal. A. Just before changing lanes. B. At any time. C. After changing lanes. D. Early enough for others to know your plans. D. Early enough for others to know your plans. Before passing, you should signal early enough for other drivers to know your plans in advance. This road sign means A. No right turn. B. Curve. C. Turn right or left. D. Traffic flows only in the direction of the arrow. D. Traffic flows only in the direction of the arrow. This one-way sign indicates that traffic flows only in the direction of the arrow. If you are involved in a serious motor vehicle crash, A. Stop. B. Call the police. C. Determine if anyone is injured. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. If you are involved in a crash, move your vehicle off of the road and stop, if possible. If anyone is injured, call 911 and provide appropriate help. You must report the crash to law enforcement if there is an injury, a death, and/or more than $1,000 in property damage, or more than $200 worth of damage made to non-vehicle government property, such as signs or guardrails.
Want to ace your DMV test? Click on the link below and get your guaranteed cheat sheet.
If you are stopped by a police officer, you should A. Unbuckle your seat belt and lower your window. B. Get your paperwork ready before the officer reaches your car. C. Stay in your vehicle with your hands on the steering wheel and wait for the officer to approach you. D. Get out of your car and walk toward the patrol car. C. Stay in your vehicle with your hands on the steering wheel and wait for the officer to approach you. If you are stopped by the police, keep your hands on the wheel and ask any passengers to keep their hands in view as well. You should remain in the vehicle unless the police officer asks you to get out. Wait until the officer asks you to retrieve your driver license, registration, and insurance cards. This sign means A. The highway ahead curves only to the right. B. The highway ahead turns sharply to the right. C. The highway ahead curves to the right and then to the left. D. The highway ahead curves to the left and then to the right. C. The highway ahead curves to the right and then to the left. Warning signs are used to warn drivers about upcoming hazardous conditions and are usually yellow with black markings. This sign warns drivers that the road ahead curves to the right and then to the left. Always signal when A. Changing lanes. B. Pulling into or out of a parking space. C. Pulling into traffic from an alley or parking area. D. All of the above. This sign means A. Railroad crossing. B. One-way traffic. C. Limited parking. D. Playground ahead. You may park or stop along the shoulder of the freeway. A. As long as you turn on your four-way emergency flashers. B. If no part of your vehicle is on the road. C. If you need to look at a map for directions. D. Only if you have an emergency. D. Only if you have an emergency. It is prohibited to park on the shoulder of a freeway, except in an emergency. An approaching driver fails to dim their high-beam headlights. Where should you look? A. At the wheels of the approaching vehicle. B. Toward the right side of the road. C. Toward the left side of the road. D. Straight down the middle of the road. B. Toward the right side of the road. If an approaching driver fails to dim their high beams, glance toward the right side of the road. This will keep you from being blinded by the other vehicle's headlights and will allow you to see enough of the road to stay on course until the other vehicle has passed. While driving, your wheels slip off the edge of the road. You should A. Jerk the steering wheel to force the vehicle back onto the pavement. B. Speed up and steer back onto the pavement gradually. C. Slam on your brakes and stop. D. Slow down by gently using the brakes. Turn the steering wheel to return to the pavement at a safe speed. D. Slow down by gently using the brakes. Turn the steering wheel to return to the pavement at a safe speed. If your vehicle begins to leave the road, continue to drive with the wheels off the pavement and reduce your speed by gently applying the brakes. When at a safe speed, turn the steering wheel to return to the pavement. Do not attempt to force your vehicle back onto the pavement by sharply turning the steering wheel. Certain highway signs contain information about hazardous conditions. Such signs are known as A. Regulatory signs. B. Warning signs. C. Information signs. D. Guide signs. B. Warning signs. Warning signs advise drivers of potentially hazardous conditions. For your own safety, obey warning signs. Disregarding the information provided by a warning sign may result in an accident due to your negligence. If two drivers arrive at the same time to a four-way intersection controlled by stop signs. A. The driver on the right has the right of way. B. The driver on the left has the right of way. C. One driver may continue driving without stopping. D. One driver should honk to indicate that they are giving up the right of way. A. The driver on the right has the right of way. Yield the right of way to the driver on your right at a four-way intersection if you both arrive to the intersection at the same time. You may then proceed when it is safe to do so. You are approaching a railroad crossing and you do not see or hear a train. You must stop. A. If a stop sign is posted. B. If a crossing gate is lowered. C. If the crossing lights are flashing. D. All of the above. You must stop for a school bus. A. That is parked on the shoulder of the road with no one in it. B. When it approaches you, even if its lights are not flashing. C. If you are both driving on a two-lane highway and its red lights are flashing. D. Whenever the driver waves at you. This road sign means A. All traffic must turn right. B. No right turn. C. All traffic must go straight ahead. D. A road joins from the right. D. A road joins from the right. This sign indicates that there is an intersection ahead. A road joins from the right. Worn or bald tires. A. Can make turning more difficult. B. Are likely to hydroplane. C. Can increase your stopping distance. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Worn or bald tires can increase your stopping distance and make turning more difficult. Tires without adequate tread also increase the risk of hydroplaning. Look over your shoulder to check your blind spot when A. Pulling toward or away from a curb. B. Turning left or right. C. Changing lanes. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Look over your shoulder to check your blind spot every time you want to change your vehicle's position. If you are turning, changing lanes, or pulling toward or away from a curb, you should check your blind spots. If you experience a tire blowout, A. Take your foot off the gas. B. Do not immediately use your brakes. C. Gradually slow down and pull off the side of the road. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. If you experience a tire blowout, take your foot off the gas pedal and do not immediately apply the brakes. Gradually slow down before gently applying the brakes and pulling off the side of the road. When you double the speed of a car, you increase the force of impact by A. 2 times. B. 3 times. C. 4 times. D. Nothing. C. 4 times. The faster you drive, the greater the potential force of impact or striking power of your vehicle. When you double the speed of a car, you increase its force of impact by 4 times. When passing on a multi-lane highway. A. Be sure the passing lane is clear. B. Pass only on the right. C. Watch for oncoming traffic. D. There is no need to signal. A. Be sure the passing lane is clear. Before passing, you must make sure the passing lane is clear and give the proper turn signal to show you are going to change lanes. If you are driving drowsy, you should A. Drink more coffee. B. Blast your radio. C. Exit the roadway and take a nap. D. Eat something. C. Exit the roadway and take a nap. If nothing seems to help you stay awake, get off the highway and take a short nap. Driving drowsy is dangerous for you and the drivers around you. Do not pass. A. On a hill or curve. B. When school bus lights are flashing. C. When approaching an intersection. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. You should never pass if there is an oncoming vehicle in the passing lane, if your view is blocked by a curve or hill, at an intersection, before or on a railroad crossing or bridge, or in any other no-passing zone. Unless you are on the opposite side of a multi-lane roadway with a median or shared center turn lane, you may not pass a stopped school bus that has its flashing red lights activated. When you drive through an area where children are playing, you should expect them A. To know when it is safe to cross the street. B. To stop at the curb before crossing the street. C. To run out in front of you without looking. D. Not to cross the street unless they are with an adult. C. To run out in front of you without looking. You should always reduce your speed and use extra caution when children are in the vicinity. They may fail to understand the danger and may run out in front of you without looking. What does this road sign mean? A. Slow down and prepare to stop if cars are approaching you. B. Come to a full stop and go when it is safe to do so. C. Proceed carefully through the intersection, not always stopping. D. Stop only for traffic on an intersecting road. B. Come to a full stop and go when it is safe to do so. A stop sign means that you must come to a full stop and yield the right of way to vehicles and pedestrians in or heading toward the intersection. Go again when it is safe. You should honk your horn when you A. Are traveling through an intersection. B. Are passing a bicyclist. C. See a child who is about to run into the street. D. Are parallel parking. Drivers who have consumed alcohol before getting behind the wheel. A. Are always aware of the risks they are taking. B. Do not have sufficient control over their bodies and minds or the vehicles being driven. C. Are better drivers because they are more careful than sober drivers. D. Have quicker reaction times. B. Do not have sufficient control over their bodies and minds or the vehicles being driven. Alcohol is a depressant that negatively affects judgment, vision, concentration, understanding of reality, and reaction time. It is never safe to consume alcohol in any amount before getting behind the wheel of a car. When should you use your parking brake? A. Every time you park. B. Only when you park on a hill. C. Only when you're parked on a busy street. D. Only when you're parked in a parking lot. At a light rail intersection, always. A. Look both ways before crossing tracks. B. Pay attention and obey all traffic signals. C. Share the road with pedestrians and bicyclists. D. All of these. D. All of these. You should never drive around lowered crossing gates. Always look both ways before turning across train tracks and always obey signs and traffic signals. Trains share the road with motor vehicles and bicyclists. To ensure that your physical condition does not cause you to drive in an unsafe manner, you should A. Keep physically fit and have regular physical examinations. B. Know the effect of any medicine on your driving ability. C. Drive within your physical limitations. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Your physical condition has an important bearing on your ability to drive safely. Drivers should be aware of their physical limitations and only drive if it is safe to do so. When you see other drivers around you acting or reacting in anger. A. Don't make eye contact. B. Don't react with hand gestures. C. Distance yourself from the situation. D. All of these. D. All of these. When other drivers are behaving angrily, you should take action to physically and mentally distance yourself from the situation. Avoid making eye contact with them, or making body movements or gestures that could provoke them. Slow down, move over, or do whatever you safely can to put yourself out of danger. Which of the following is true about driving on a wet roadway? A. As you drive faster, your tires become less effective. B. Water does not affect cars with good tires. C. Deep water is less dangerous than shallow water. D. As you decrease your speed, the roadway becomes more slippery. A. As you drive faster, your tires become less effective. The faster you drive on a wet roadway, the less effective your tires will be at wiping the water from the road. If your speed becomes excessive enough, your tires will lose their grip on the road entirely and you will begin to hydroplane, that is, to slide down the road on a film of water. This sign means A. No parking. B. Divided highway ahead. C. Left turn signal. D. Yield. A. No parking. Regulation signs regulate traffic speed and movement, displaying rules which drivers must obey. This regulation sign indicates that parking is not permitted. When should drivers and passengers fasten their safety belts? A. Before reaching 55 miles per hour. B. When they feel unsafe. C. When making a sharp turn. D. Before starting the engine. D. Before starting the engine. Louisiana has a mandatory safety belt use law which requires all motor vehicle occupants to be properly buckled. Don't start the engine before you are sure every passenger in the car has their safety belt fastened. Before turning, you should A. Use your signal. B. Turn the wheel. C. Increase your speed. D. Change lanes. A. Use your signal. To complete a turn safely, you should activate your turn signal 3 to 4 seconds before your turn. When using a roundabout or rotary island, drivers should A. Yield to entering traffic. B. Yield to traffic already in the roundabout. C. Drive in a clockwise direction. D. Stop within the rotary island. B. Yield to traffic already in the roundabout. A roundabout is a circular intersection that usually does not include a traffic signal and flows in a counterclockwise direction around a central island. Motorists must enter from the right, yielding to traffic already in the roundabout, and follow the circle to the right until the desired roadway is reached. Fill in the blank. Greatly increase stopping distances and severity of crashes. A. High speeds. B. Slow speeds. C. Night drives. D. Uphill inclines. A. High speeds. High speeds greatly increase stopping distances and severity of crashes. The faster you drive, the greater the impact or striking power of your vehicle, should you be involved in a collision. Which medications could have negative side effects that affect driving ability? A. Any medication. B. Only headache medicine. C. Only diet pills. D. Only prescription medication. A. Any medication. Any medication could potentially affect your ability to drive. Be sure to ask your doctor or pharmacist about the impact your prescription may have on your driving. Read the labels on over-the-counter medicines to determine if their side effects can impair your driving. When should you use a three-point turnabout? A. Anytime. B. When driving in heavy traffic. C. Only when driving on a street that is too narrow for you to make a U-turn and you cannot go around the block. D. When driving on a one-lane, one-way street. C. Only when driving on a street that is too narrow for you to make a U-turn and you cannot go around the block. A three-point turnabout is the most difficult and dangerous way to perform a turnabout. Use it only when the road is too narrow for you to safely make a U-turn and you are not able to go around the block. This type of turn should only be used on a two-lane roadway. In Louisiana, who is required to use a safety belt? A. The driver. B. Passengers in the front seat. C. Passengers in the back seat. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Louisiana has a mandatory safety belt use law which requires all motor vehicle occupants to be properly buckled. The three-point safety belt saves more lives than any other automotive safety device.